this is going to segue into exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Everything he just brought up. The menace of political correctness. First, I want to introduce Marty Moyer. He's the man in charge of the Christian Action Network. And thanks to Marty and his great group, he made this wonderful film, Sacrifice Survivors, and he's going to make you aware of exactly what's going on and how this war on terror is not just in the deserts of Iraq and in the caves of Afghanistan. That war is right here.
On the streets of America.
Okay? It's where you work. It's where you shop. It's the neighbor who said, I don't want that flag on your property anymore, and who's going to fight to have you to take it down. Oh, really? Well, I'm going to have 200 people in front of your house telling me that I'm going to wave that flag anytime I dare. So, ladies and gentlemen, one more.
Yeah, microphones and microphones, by the way, Tim, 1,200 missions and not a single prayer. I'm just... This is Andy, by the way, and as you can tell, we have some rather great speakers up here in this panel. But if you think Andy has exhausted, he's not. He's got more to tell you, and that's great. You know, I think it's interesting. The Brennans are here, and Mrs. Brennan, if you could stand up one more time, just watch. I'm sorry, your son's name?
Michael Brennan.
Michael Brennan. If you could turn around and so because she has the picture. That's your son, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I brought that up is because when we first started to come up with the idea of making this film, we had an organization said that politically we should not really have anything to say about whether they put a mosque at Ground Zero or not. The people who should be the one to ultimately make this decision are the family members who lost their loved ones at 9/11. What do they have to say about this mosque? And let's take our lead from them. But the reason why I wanted Mr. Walsh to stand up and see that picture is because when we went around, and you'll see this on the film, and interviewed these 9/11 family members, and they kept presenting us the photos of the people that they lost that day. We had our cameras set up, and we were interviewing them. This is our third film we've done. No film. In that pre-production stage, we're bringing the cameraman to tears, the interviewer to tears, as we're just trying to get this statements that these 9/11 family members and survivors have on our film. But it was pictures like that of constantly seeing those that are lost and seeing the young kids that actually died that day. I don't have a lot to say because I think what does have a lot to say is this film. And the people that are in this film are two people right here. And, you know, I don't know if you know how wonderful it is for you all to be actually to have 9/11 survivors in your midst. Yes. Those who almost 10 years ago that went through this tragic day and have to relive this story again on the 10-year anniversary when they plan on breaking ground, they say, for this mosque at Ground Zero. So I'm not going to say a lot other than introduce these individuals who I have so much respect for, and that's why we brought them down to talk to you. Because it is their story, not my story. It's the story in this film that you need to listen to. Now, this is not a happy film. I want you to know that. You know, one of the things that became clear to us after interviewing the 9/11 family members is that the one consistency that they all had to tell us, the reason why they're opposed to this mosque is they're building it on top of the graves of the people they lost.
So monuments.
The monuments, absolutely correct. And so you'll see threaded out through this entire film, proving the point that this is just not a mosque that should be respected for freedom of speech. Yeah. This is a mosque being built on the graves of people they lost, they have never found. They're still there in that area to this day. And it's a heartbreaking story, but it is a powerful, emotional, and convincing story of why this mosque should never be erected at Ground Zero. And with that, I'd like to introduce Andy Sullivan, who was a construction worker that day when the trade centers were hit. Andy?
Okay, Andy.
Thank you. As you can tell, I'm very shy. I really do wish this was a social visit. It is gorgeous down here. And you know what? I know this is a very serious issue we're going to be talking about, but be happy, be glad. I mean, we are starting to do stuff today. I know we could have had more people, but you know what? They have had decades of doing their dirty work on us. Okay, we just got into the game late. But we're running to catch up, and we will. Just the fact that anyone is here is fantastic, and I want to give you guys a hand. Thank you for showing up. Now, over 9 years ago, my life and the city and the country's lives were ripped apart by violent jihad on 9/11. But now we face a different type of menace. They call it stealth jihad. That's what's going on in our lives every day. Now, as I've been fighting this Ground Zero mosque, I'm going to tell you a story that reminds me of the Walshes here. We took, God bless you, my heart goes out to you. I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I was at the Landmarks Commission, we were trying to make this building a landmark. Because, for those of you that don't know it, a piece of the plane actually came crashing through this building, the Burlington Coat Factory building. So it was actually hit first before the plane hit the tower. Is anybody telling you that? That was the first strike of the 9/11 attacks. Okay, so if anybody tells you it's 2 blocks from Ground Zero, no, it's not. Okay, for the criteria to be Ground Zero, did it get hit with the plane? Did people die there? Okay, not only did people die there, but they color-coded the amount of DNA that were found on the site. And they color-coded the red zone was the most intense amounts of DNA were found. And this building is the red zone. Okay, so the highest amount of DNA, and it was struck with the plane, that is Ground Zero. And that's why these people want to build on top of that. Yeah. Now, when we were down at the Landmarks Commission, trying to preserve this building as an historical landmark, they had a 9-commission panel up there, all influenced by a very powerful mayor, Mayor Bloomberg, who's a billionaire, 17th richest man in the world, and everybody knows what side of this issue he's on. Okay, and you're going to hear about Tim has a lawsuit against them because they were working hand in glove, fast-tracking this project. And I'm in construction 30 years in New York City. Okay, to build a birdhouse, you have to go through a mountain of paperwork like this. Okay, these people are doing things in the matter of weeks that takes months of planning to do. And it's all due to Mayor Bloomberg. Now this whole panel votes this thing through to destroy this historical landmark, a piece of our history. And the place went crazy. Everybody on my right started hysterical crying. All the parents. There was an older couple. I seen them holding on to a picture of their firefighter son. And it was covered with laminate. Because you could tell it's been dragged to 100 rallies, 100 protests, and thousands of tears all over it. And I'm watching these two tremble, weep on each other. Then I look at the old fella's face, and he looks at me. And he just mouths to me, he says, "Don't let them do this to my boy." And then I look to my left side, and what do I see? I see everybody from the Cordoba Initiative jumping up and down, celebrating, giving high fives, slapping each other on the back, laughing. That is stealth jihad. This is the second wave of attacks this country is suffering right now. And it has to do with the flags. And it has to do with no more prayer in the school. It has to do with no more Pledge of Allegiance here. No more Christmas tree at the shopping center. They are eroding our American traditions and values. And that stops now.
Damn right.
Now, I was terrified that day when I saw that plane hit that first building. The horrors were unspeakable that I witnessed. And the one thing that stood out was the acts of courage that I witnessed were more unbelievable. And I always introduce my friend here, Tim Brown, with the same segue. As I was running out of that building, this fellow was running in. Tim Brown, New York City Fire.